What is up, everybody? How are we all doing? Welcome back to Two Guys and a Snorse today. Oh, I can't fucking do it. That was it. That was the bit. I'm sorry. I can't do it. It smells so bad. It literally smells so bad in there. I can't do it.
I was trying so hard not to laugh or react.
It was
you
so...
lasted a whole 20 seconds.
Not even. I'll take the under.
We're like, we're gonna go 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Let's not talk about how many times in my I've lasted 20 seconds, okay? Jesus Christ. Guys, welcome to Two Guys in a Bar, your favorite Wednesday night show. Hello to my illustrious co-hosts. Boys, how are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, you know, fantastic. Recovering from the vid.
Ugh, the Rona got you?
Yeah, it got me, you know. Traveled this weekend. When I, on the flight back, I was like, I'm feeling not that great. Woke up in the morning, I was like, yep, I've got it.
Just coughed all over everybody, touching everybody in the plane.
You know, that was my plan. Just spread it, you know, get the herd immunity going.
Oh, that's good. Redbeard, how about you, buddy? How about you?
Doing good. We are on the final steps of purchasing this land.
Nice.
And as you guys found out tonight before my wife did.
Honestly, though, let's be honest. And I know, listen, I'm going to speak for Bardic here. And I know Bardic agrees with me. That is the order it should happen. You find out pertinent life information that only affects you and your family. Bardic and I need to be the first two to know. I mean, really.
Yep.
It's...
Yep.
It's podcast before broadcasts, guys. Let's go. Okay, so something I don't. And obviously, for those that don't know, I got in a tweet off with Maggie. We're doing a 1v1 Snorse cosplay, and you all got a sneak preview of that. The rest of the uncensored pictures on my OnlyFams. I said fam, Twitch, FAM. Don't ban us, please, boys. What are you guys drinking? What are you guys drinking tonight? Let's get into it.
Well, I'm drinking tea on the back end of COVID.
Fair. Good. What kind of tea, though?
Echinacea and some kind of herbal stuff, I guess, with honey and a little milk.
I'm like straight convinced that echinacea. So like my brain says echinacea is absolute bullshit. It isn't anything, right? Yeah. I'm fully convinced of that. And at the same time, I've never taken echinacea and it hasn't worked. So I'm just I
Worked for what? What does it do?
to make you not sick. I don't know what it does. Like it just I take it and all of a sudden I'm not as sick for sure. Like yeah, I don't know. Captain Dr. Redbeard. Oh god, he's got the tumbler. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
Liquor do.
What and cran apple juice?
No, liquor do.
What is liquor do? Oh, the bad Mountain Dew. I forgot about that. I blacked that out of my memory like an awful childhood experience.
Hey, they said that you're louder than the two of us.
Yeah, I turned myself down.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear you.
That's fucking true. That's super true, including
Fair
myself. And I've got a little bit. There was ice in here, but now there's just a bunch of limes. Finishing off the mezcal for the year. This is gonna be my last mezcal, guys. Mezcal.
Freeze the limes and drop the ice.
Listen, we get it. You're the grown-up around here. You plan in advance. You don't really have to rub that into our faces, okay? Bartek just got back from Vegas, and I'm a degenerate. Like, we get it. You're buying land. Okay, fine.
Wait, hold on. Am I the fucking adult out of the three of us now?
That's always been true. That's all. Chat. Who is the adult? Who has been the adult for the year and change that we've been doing this show? Boy, it's been over a year now.
I mean, you do have a kid.
You do have a kid.
This doesn't make me an
Dane's
adult.
a little closer than I am, but you know.
All right, Redbeard's the adult.
Baba got it. Baba got it. Superwife is the adult here.
Superwife is the adult here. Shout out to Superwife in the chat, guys. Really appreciate it. Mrs. Redbeard, the queen. All right, boys. Should we talk about the tea? The big tea that happened? Did we just adopt more kids? I couldn't not respond to that.
I was just about to respond. I was like, you've always had 2 extra kids to deal with.
So have you guys heard of this game, Ashes of Creation? Did you guys both get a chance to see the AMA? Bart, I know you've been sick. Did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I was sick, so I had all the time in the world, and it was fantastic.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Before we get into it, before we truly dive into the meat of the AMA, give me 1 to 10. Go.
1 to 10 in terms of AMA, or 1 to 10 in terms of like Ash's information dump?
Either.
AMA, I think it was. If we're basing the scale off of previous AMAs, I'd say this is a 10.
Yeah.
Just based off previous. Now, as it stands alone, probably a 7 or 8. I think the only thing that could really make anything a 10 in Ashes of Creation, whether it be a monthly update or AMA, is Alpha 2 date. So I'm reserving 10, for that. But it was the best AMA that we've had so far, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with like a strong 9.5 because, as Super said, you don't give it a 10, but he basically confirmed that like things are moving.
Oh, moving
Like,
along. Big time.
We're gonna have spot testing soonish before the end of the year. We're gonna have
Well, so I kind of interpreted that as we'll have maybe some private spot testing going on. Like,
yeah.
Not even just like the NDA stuff, but like reaching out to like specific groups of people or guilds or whatever and saying, hey, come in, test this.
I just assumed it would be Alpha 1 testers would be into it.
He did mention that, but it was within the same like question, but just like a little bit later in the response to the question. It was weird how he split it up. Like, this is like the Steven reading in between the lines thing, like how he said and the order in which he said something. It made it seem like there were going to be kind of a couple of different testing phases leading up to Alpha 2, one being a little bit more restrictive, all of them being NDA until actual Alpha 2, but one being a little bit more restrictive, then bringing in previous testers, then maybe letting in some Alpha 2 testers, kind of like what they did with Alpha 1. But yeah.
But between that and then like he just led the entire thing off with, I might have to say I can't answer that question, but that's really unlikely at this point. That to me was the biggest point where I was like, oh, you have a lot more going on than most of us know about then. Because like the I can't answer that means we haven't even talked about it. We can't figure it out. If you can answer it, that means that like it's under development. It's been talked about. Like things are moving forward. So that to me was the biggest, and that's why where I was like, okay, we're in for a big series of events coming up. You know, within the year, within the next 4 months, I would say we're looking at maybe an Alpha 2 date.
Yeah, I think we're definitely on track for that. I think that we are. I mean, we're looking. I'm feeling very good about the March April guesses. I feel like those are very much ready to go. I know there was a community consensus going around for a bit that he's gonna give it to us as a Christmas present. Da da da. Steven doesn't care about your Christmas present, guys. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. He's trying to make a good game. Like it. I know that like marketing wise, I'm glad we have a lot of marketing minded people in the community, but he just doesn't care. But I would bet you that we are in. Yeah, I'm still thinking April. April is is definitely the date that I'm shooting for. But sorry, go ahead.
Along with Zillan, I've got a direct line to Steven. I can talk to him anytime. He cares about my Christmas.
Steven doesn't care about my Christmas. He told me so. He said, I hope you have a bad Christmas fame.
I hope I ruin your Christmas.
I hope I ruin your Christmas. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. Fair. Absolutely fair.
Yeah, you didn't spend enough money, Fane, for him to care about your Christmas.
I'm working on it, Steven. Release more cosmetics, please. Let's get into it. And I think we just, there's a bunch of ways to tackle this. But I think we just start at the top, So they answered the question about, how do you plan to handle servers with low population? How'd you guys feel about that answer?
I think that as it pertains to, and this is going to kind of echo from what we've talked about in months past as far as server merging and whatnot, I think that my biggest point of feedback would be making sure that in the situation that a low pop server, or as he put it, a weak server is merging into a strong server, I don't like the idea of that strong server getting fucked over because they're essentially taking in those people. Why are like freeholds being reset, towns being reset, ownership being reset, stuff like that? Like New World, it makes sense, it's fine, whatever, but the players have very little actual impact on the world. I think it is completely fair to take a stance and say that if you are, first of all, you should be merging multiple low pop servers together and then creating a new fresh environment for those 3-4 servers to play. I think that that's fair to do a reset at that point. But if a low pop is merging into a high pop, the low pop should, the benefit that they're getting out of it is to actually have people in the world to play with. That is what they're getting out of it. Instead of being on their dead server and thinking that they're the biggest fish in the smallest pond, they actually get to have other people to play with, more communities to be a part of, more engaging content. That goes away for a short time if the server is kind of getting reset. And I know it's not like a full server reset, everybody's getting dropped to level 1 kind of a thing, but where freeholds are, where territory is, I think they need to try to come up with a more creative way if they are looking at small servers into large servers. I personally think that the answer is multiple small servers being thrown together. But I know that always won't be the case. So I don't think it's right for the large server to get fucked over because they happen to be getting a smaller server merged into them. They didn't vote for that. So.
I do want to hit on one point, and when he uses the term strong and weak server, that doesn't necessarily mean like the strongest server, right? I am guessing they're going to look at a failing server and then look at a server that is also trending pretty hard down and merge those two servers. Not take like the best in the world server and be like, oh, we're going to throw this random ass server with like 2,000 population into your server. So I would like to say like, that's my interpretation of what he
Mhm.
was saying.
I think it's
Um,
strong and weak based on population. And sure, maybe it's trending down or something like that. But still, if they're trending down from 10,000 to 8,000, another server has
well,
1,000. Like, why is the 8,000?
I'd like to see them do more metrics than just population, right? Like progression wise, looking at the actual curves in terms of like what, not necessarily just progression, like, oh, you haven't progressed in a while. It's like, oh, you had strong progression and then you've started to fall off and now you're getting no progression. So it's clearly the sign of the beginning of a dying server. And just going back to what we talked about earlier of like, I mean, we'd mentioned this just as an idea, and obviously this is way out there, doesn't need to be done, but like an event
Mhm.
that corresponds to a server merging where the server that is dying, the weak server, having to suddenly like corral everything, run caravans to the divine portals to exit onto the new server. It's a cool idea, definitely like a lot to do if that was going to be a thing, and maybe that could happen in the future. But the idea behind that I like is that both sides get something out of it. Like, the people coming from the weak server, they're able to, retain a certain amount of value out of whatever they have helped caravan across into the divine portals. And we talked about like, the strong server coming across and helping them. But like I like the idea of making it beneficial to both sides, right? Hold the carrot strong, don't punish anyone. And that's like what I didn't like to hear of like, oh, well, maybe property ownership will get reset. And I was just like, that's just compounding
One
a
or
bad
both sides will have to have their property ownership reset in that situation.
Well, yeah, so 100% it's always going to be the weak server, right? Like that.
Well,
to
not
me
according
is,
to what was being that was my point
Yes.
against it. And so, yeah.
But I don't mind that really, right? Because we've talked about this before. Is if you transfer a weak server over to a stronger server, they're coming into a whole new world. They've got to kind of take their slice of this pie, and that means getting into nodes, changing the world that they need to do. These are some of your most hardcore players, right? In terms of dedication. Because they were on a dying server and they're still here and they're still logging in and they're willing to log in when you transfer servers. They are dedicated people, and I think that on a very base level, giving them a shot at some land so they can establish a foothold so that they can move in, it is giving them somewhat of a carrot. Does it suck for the other server? Sure, it sucks for the other server, but it is a small price to pay, and it's not saying that you're not going to have your freehold. You just got to go in out and get it the way that everyone else is going to have to. It's dangling that, it's that carrot, but it's the carrot for the smaller server. Because right now, if you merged 3,000 people from a dying server over into a more populated server, a more healthy server, I would bet you wouldn't retain 65% of those people. I bet they would say, I don't want to be on this server. I'd rather go to an even less populated server. I have more of a chance to do stuff there. I don't think they're going to take the infusion, so to speak, really well. I don't know how much that infusion is going to stick. And this is a good way of at least giving them a little something for the inconvenience.
Okay, so what's the carrot on the large server side?
The large server side is that you're going to have a more active player base, that instead of having the 7,000 people that you have averagely, oh my god, literally the fumes from the mask are still in my brain, just spinning shit around. The carrot is that you are getting a larger population, you are creating more dynamicism in the world, because I think that even though we talk about this dynamic, ever-changing world, we're going to find out that at the end of the day, most of the servers will settle into what works for them. Most of the servers will go back to a theme park in some way of, these are the nodes that we have and this is it, and we're fine with this and we're not really going to change too much. So I think it's actually a really healthy way to do it.
But here's my issue with that is you need a short-term carrot on the stick, not this meta carrot on a stick. Because otherwise, I mean, you're talking about player retention on the 3,000 player population side.
Mm-hmm.
If you have player retention issues on the 8,000 player side, that's the bigger issue there.
I mean, in terms of dropping a percentage, yes, right? But what are you not losing if you're the 8,000 person, right? You're giving up freeholds if you're on the stronger server. You're giving up freeholds and castles and nodes and your name. They've already confirmed that the smaller, someone might have the duplicate name. You might have to give up your identity as a gamer moving over. You're giving up a lot more from the smaller side. You're not giving up much on the bigger side.
But I
That's
think
fine. But if you're talking about a server that thinks they have a player or a healthy player population, they're happy with where the server's at, and then you're suddenly giving up something like, think about this, like how much money did you spend on that castle or node siege, or how much money have you spent to build up your freehold to the point that it is where it's at, it's min max the point on the right tile, it's got the right amount of resources, water, fresh land, all that around it to be properly, processing the materials you're processing on your freehold. How much have you spent to build up this tavern around this perfect farming area that everyone uses and comes in to get their buffs before they go out and farm? Like, when you've done all that and just saying you're not giving up that much, or you're not giving up as much as the dying server, well, your server, like, in your opinion, your server wasn't dying. I mean, maybe when they look at the metrics, it was on course to die, but there's a lot of things that could have happened in between that to, infuse populations, whatever it is. But you're sitting there and saying, oh, like, if I had all that, I thought I would, like, for example, we're members of Axiom, a fairly large guild, and say, hey, they saw the metrics of the server Axiom is starting to die, and they decide to merge, and they just, like, wipe all this shit that we had worked for. Honestly, I'd be upset. I might even quit the game for a little while.
I mean,
whatever it is.
What do you mean all the things that we've worked for? Because you mentioned castles, you mentioned nodes, but that's not really in the discussion, right?
It's castles,
it's just
nodes,
freeholds. It's
No,
just
I was going to clarify that.
It's just freeholds. It's
literally
literally
you talked about you said castles and nodes.
I said they're giving up their castles and nodes. The smaller server that's being merged in. They're giving up the whole world that they've created. You're not giving up that much on the stronger server. You're giving up your freehold. We don't even know that that's going to cost you money.
I think we're kind of underplaying what they're getting without being able to have that land available to them. What they're getting is a population to play the game with, and we have said multiple times that this game needs a populated server for it to be successful. If it's not going to have population, the server will not be successful. Mm-hmm. The game, to those players' eyes, won't be successful because they don't have the population to continue the content of the world moving forward, because they just don't have enough people to make that happen.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, what the smaller server is getting when they transfer to a larger server is they're getting a game to play. That's what they're getting. They're getting their $15 a month actually at value. That's what they're gaining in that. Sure, they may lose their freehold, but that's the price to pay to actually have a fun and engaging game to play with population in my head. And so for me, the carrot is already there for the smaller server. They're gaining a world to actually exist within, and to be taking stuff away from the larger server that didn't do anything wrong. To Bardick's point, they might be on a downward trend on some back-end metrics, but they don't know that. 7,000, 8,000 players on a 10,000 active will still feel good.
They're not going to feel like they're dying, right? Unless they're very aware of it. And maybe some of that is transparency, saying like, hey guys, this is where your server is going, kind of in the way Steam Charts shows it. This is where your server is going. That's why we did this. I think that the large server, the only thing I'm going to say is I think that the large server is going to have to give up something, because you need a way to have these people commit to this server, or else they will get transferred over and they might just say, you know what? I don't have my name anymore. I don't have anything. I might just go re-roll another character on a completely different server. And you might just be putting a percentage of these people over onto another dead server, or onto a server that's already at cap.
You kind of lose me with the name thing. Like, I mean,
that matters to a lot of people.
Well, no, hold on. But as it pertains to gameplay, I don't think that matters as much. I'm not saying it doesn't matter to the individual,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if that's something that Intrepid should care about, I guess you should say. And this is coming from a Twitch streamer who, you know, we're branded by our names, right?
Because
Like,
you
it's
know
very-
that I'm taking Captain Redbeard. I'm using my
Well,
name
no,
reservation.
It's a very big decision. Like when I went from Supernova to Captain Redbeard, like it was. I mean, I sent you guys iteration. Like I get the idea of like if I go somewhere my name's not available, like the way I spelt Supernova in the past was specifically because Supernova spelt correctly was always taken. So I totally understand the idea of like the identity, the name and the identity being important. But you just kind of lose me there a little bit because it's not like a gameplay mechanic. The node side, I'm with you.
But it's part of what you're paying $15 a month for, right? Is my character how it looks? We're not changing how my character looks with the name that I wanted. I mean, if you let me take it in a different direction. You have a package. You have a backer package, and included with that is a name reservation. So in theory, then the name reservation has been assessed some sort of value. Your server dies, even though you had a name reservation. Captain Redbeard on the other server, who's a fanboy, because you're 100,000 viewer Andy at this point, is what I'm assuming. He's a fanboy, and he took the name. You have now paid for something that you didn't really get the value for, right? And so I think that it's not a big deal. I agree, it's probably the smallest deal. We're talking about crumbs at the end of the deal. It's just another thing that they are having to give up in moving over. And one thing Steven didn't address too, which I'm curious, and I think I know what the answer is just based on the name, is legendaries. If there's a 1 per server legendary and I have it on my server and you have it on your server and I get merged into you, I bet you I could tell you which one of us is going to lose it. Which one of us is going to have it stripped out of their inventory.
I think that I wouldn't be surprised to see him go the direction of, in that situation, 2 legendaries can exist on the server.
I would like that.
I don't think that to me is that's worse than the land. That's worse than all of it. Like that one would really suck. That one would absolutely suck because that is something in game that the same way that the people who spent the money, the time, the resources to get their freehold built up lose that freehold. If somebody's losing a legendary and all the time and effort and gold and crafting and all, you know, community relations, guild stuff that went into obtaining that legendary, that would feel bad on both sides for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily comparable to the land side beyond the fact that it would feel bad to lose it no matter what. I'm not saying that the small server isn't getting dicked on a little bit by losing their freehold and then going to another server and where they had their freehold is now owned by somebody else. It's the way it goes. I mean, I kind of look at it in relation to if I move from, you know, Alabama to California expecting to have 10 acres like I had in Alabama and I want to have that in California, like that's just not going to be the case. I'm moving there. I'm adapting to what they have. What I'm gaining from that is the population, all the restaurants around me, all of the content, around me. And so from that side of it, I feel like now, granted, that would have been my decision to make that move.
Yeah.
So that's where
I think that's part of it. It is forced. Also, half of your 10 acres is on fire, just so you know. Welcome to California. Half of your 10 acres is on fire. I think a lot of this is going to depend, and once again, I think this is where we are adding a speck of suspension of disbelief, is how much it's going to take to actually build up that freehold. It may be a lot. It may be something massive that you're losing. It may not be very much. They may do it kind of like the Siege, where you pick up essentially a blueprint of your freehold layout, and you just have to find a new spot to plop it back down on. And it becomes an arms race on both sides. You know, not all of those 3,000 people are going to get a freehold spot. They're not giving up your freehold. You're not being told, hey, move out of your house, this person's coming in. It becomes a bit more of an arms race in that way, and it's going to be a similar game mechanic to when you get sieged.
What about
successful.
what if they were given instant? So if they kind of like what you were saying, if they had a freehold on the smaller server, if the smaller population had a freehold on their server, they come over to the large server, the land doesn't get reset, but they're allowed instant ownership of whatever freehold land they do come across. They don't have to go through the process. They don't have whatever process there might be. They're granted that freehold if they had one previously on the smaller server.
If they had one previously, when they come into the new server and there's a freehold plot, they get instant access to it and can lay down their freehold at potentially even no cost because it's something that already exists. Well, I would be okay with that. I would actually be okay with that. assuming there's freehold spots left.
Here's my big thing is like whoever new is coming in, right? The new people coming in, when we're talking about resetting things, like one of the biggest things I feel like is citizenship, right? Because that's the biggest thing. You get so many benefits from being a citizen, everything the guilds have put in to be patrons. Like there are all these kinds of benefits that you're gaining. And that's the stuff I'm looking at is like it would be super weird to just be like, oh, by the way, we're going to reset freehold positions. Like, or we're going to like, if you're going to be resetting this stuff, you have to reset it all. And so, like, to me, that would be like, and like, even if they come in and suddenly, like, they have to fight for whatever they want, like, there's
well,
no
maybe they get the
available
refugee.
unless...
Maybe they get, like, you know, Stevens mentioned the refugee debuff or buff, whatever, however you want to look at it. Like, maybe there's some kind of fast track that happens if you are being merged over. Like, and then that's something you could do from the event side, what you were talking about. As people are coming through the portal, maybe the mayor of nodes closest to the portals are like, you know what, we want to increase our citizenship at our node, so we're going to take the refugee buff and we're going to allow these people, boom, instant access to be a citizen. And so you make it more of a gameplay mechanic as opposed to somebody just coming in and saying, here you go.
The difference between that is choice, right? They have chosen that they want to increase their population. They want to bring more of these refugees in to fight better against the rest of the world. And that's like where the difference comes in versus, as I said, like if I've spent like, and this still goes down to what we talked to, or Fane was saying earlier about, we don't know how long it's going to take you to invest in a freehold. But Steven has said it's a significant amount of time to get a freehold. And then we're talking about legendaries, and you guys are like, well, there's no, like, I'd probably quit the game if I had to lose my legendary after spending all this time. But when you're looking at the relation, like, potentially the freehold is even more time than it is to get a legendary.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it probably is, right? I think that's why some of these things need to be addressed. I would really like to see a little bit more and get a little bit more discussion, maybe a little bit more in-depth stuff. Maybe we can, the community in general can start peppering on this. I mean, obviously this is never going to be an issue because Ashes will succeed and the servers will be at 9,999 every single time, every single server, every day you want to log on. You're the last slot. No queue, nothing, no issues. Boys, I do want to move on because there were a lot of questions. We had 20 questions.
Steven extra money.
Oh, that's why he doesn't care about my Christmas bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. I paid him extra money, so I never have a queue time, and I'm always on the best server.
Smart. So they asked, when can we expect to see secondary archetypes? I think we've talked this one to death. We've kind of moved through that. Any Alpha 2 spot tests? He said this year, he says, yes, we'll be having spot tests, and they've had spot tests internally. And over the course of the next several months, we will be getting spot tests. So several months is,
soon TM.
Soon TM. We'll see. I don't know if we'll get any this year. It'll be interesting to see. Stay tuned. Not that we can let you guys know that.
I do hope they do the same thing in the verbal NDA.
Yeah, that was the other question I had. I was like, does that mean under NDA for visual but not verbal?
I think it'll be all, and then depending on how the test goes, I think it'll be just like Alpha 1 and pre-Alpha, depending on how the test goes. If they feel like it's been going well, and the Ghost AI controller fix was implemented, and that's when the verbal NDA was lifted, and so the timing was very particular. He was very smart about when he lifted the verbal, because when they fixed that issue, or they were working towards a solid fix on it, that's when they allowed us to start talking about it. So then it was, oh yeah, there's this big issue, but they got it taken care of, rather than us just saying there's this big issue.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be similar. He needs to see how the tests are going. If they're going good, then verbal will get released, and then visual, for the actual Alpha 2.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're all marching towards. Hopefully, sooner rather than later. Here, right?
I think we have some kind of spot test, and whether it's a PI test or they're actually letting in some Alpha 1 testers before the end of the year.
Do you? Okay. Bardic before the end of the year?
He didn't say no, and the question specifically said, "Will we have this before the end of the year?"
He said yes. I got very excited, and then he threw 12 seconds later. He said several, and I was like, oof, oof. Several means somewhere between now and 2025. I mean, listen, guys.
Several what?
not
Days,
Star-
months,
Yeah,
years?
you're
Star
not
Citizen
wrong.
is several months away from completion, guys. I promise you, it is several months away from completion.
And several $1 million as well.
Several hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Oof. Guys, so the staff question. Did anyone find this? I found this interesting. Some staffs are ranged and some staffs are melee. That's pretty cool.
I feel like that goes into like quarterstaff versus like I feel like all magical staffs are gonna be ranged, and then you're gonna have quarterstaffs which are more like melee.
Mhm.
But that's just what I went to.
I mean, I think it would
Obviously,
be
it's all
cool to have
speculation.
a melee ability on like a mage staff, like on a magical staff, like just one that's called like thump or something like that, and you just go up and you just beat him on the head with it or something like that. Like I think that would be kind of fun. I kind of don't want to see the potential for builds where people are using a magical fire staff with 12 melee abilities, and that's like a thing. Like I don't know. Like I like
See,
player.
I do want to see that.
I
want the
like player
craziness.
agency, but I don't like stupidity at the same time. So
It's not stupid if it works.
I don't think it would work.
It's not even stupid if it
But
doesn't
if
work.
it works, if it works,
It just means they're better at memeing than you.
so
Just put your snail helmet back
yeah.
on.
I mean, he just kind of confirmed what we're gonna see in terms of weapons.
Yeah.
Which smells
don't-
so bad in here.
It smells
You
so
don't-
bad in here, guys. I'm gonna wear it like this for the rest of the stream.
Oh my god.
But he did kind of just confirm that what we're gonna see out of weapons, right? Like your weapon is not like the choice for your weapon is going to be based on what active skills you go after, which is going to be based on what kind of procs you're looking for. So
Yeah.
you may want a bleed proc, you may want like a cold slow proc, you may want like a burn damage proc, you may want certain procs that synergize with different abilities, and that's going to be like how you choose your weapons and like what is available to each weapon, it seems like.
I don't know why one antenna has ED. It's really actually sad. Dropbear just walked in and said something's wrong with you. She's not seen the mask yet. That was very distracting. Yeah, I mean,
It's not. She generally says that to you every night, right?
that's 100% true. I do want to burn through some of these guys real quick. Healing will make healing fun and effective. I think we should save this for when they do the cleric reveal. We did say we're getting a new cleric reveal, a little
Yeah,
bit
he
of a
said
cleric
that.
rework.
Not this next one, but I think the following one is.
I agree. I think we're looking
November.
November.
Might be this next one.
It might. It
He
might.
said coming up very soon. So
Very soon.
But that's soon TM. So
What do you envision the primary leveling system for Ashes?
This was a stupid question.
This was a real bad question. I didn't think any were gonna get through, and I wanted to hammer on this. This was the first one where I was like, duh.
Playing
Duh.
the game.
I thought
It
it was
was-
a great question. Okay.
What? No, there's no way. There's no way. Stop. No one ever like. I did you know that if you stay logged off, you gain experience? Steven,
I
how
heard
are
he's
you? Was
trying to
also
reinvent
stupid.
the wheel.
That's
so-
that's
Okay,
true.
listen. Steven, how are you was only a stupid question because I knew he was gonna spend 10 to 15 fucking minutes answering the question.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why it was a stupid question.
Yeah,
Like, I get that. I knew the moment I saw that one on Reddit, I knew it was gonna be one of the top questions because all of the fucking simps were gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Steven, how are you? I care." Steven doesn't give a fuck about you individually. Okay.
Parasocial relationships. Parasocial relationships. Yeah.
He wants to make a good game for you to play, but more specifically for him to play. He said it multiple times.
Yep.
So had he been like, we're doing good, we're excited about all of the milestones we've hit, everything looking towards the end of the year is looking really good. We gotta get together and figure out what next year looks like. Bing,
Mhm.
bang, boom, done. Next question. That's fine. But he spent 10 minutes going into like random detail that was just like, this is an AMA, not a studio update, not a fucking hey, how are you? Like, Let's get the deets.
We've only got so much time. Let's start using it effectively. And I do want to talk about a little bit about the office hours today. I saw the question was asked in chat, but I want to do that at the end of the show. I just want to burn through these AMA questions. Biggest challenges at this point before releasing A2. This was the greatest question in the world. It was the slyest way I've seen A2 when asked. What are your biggest challenges that you could have to read before doing it? And Steven's like, I gotta go press the download button on that email they just sent me, and then it'll be live. Yeah, that was coming, guys. Come on. Render and distance vision on the sea. It is interesting that we are going to get some sort of spyglass that will be attached to the ship. It looks like this is going to be a ship attachment.
Also, the top-down view thing was interesting.
Was very interesting. Yeah, 100%. And then your class of ship being able to be seen depending on the character render distance being the same, but the class being a little bit different, I think made it really interesting. The big drop for me, there were two big drops in this, and this is the first one. We got the entire list of professions.
I got it right here if you need me to.
I've got it. So, guys, gathering, we've got mining, lumbering, herbalism, fishing, and hunting. Under processing, we have metalworking, stonemason, smithing, weaving, tanning, lumber milling, farming, animal husbandry, alchemy, and cooking. And in the finalized crafting, we have weapon, carpentry, arcane engineering, armor smithing, leatherworking, tailoring, jewel cutting, and scribing. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Interesting that alchemy, cooking, and farming, well, maybe not farming, but alchemy and cooking aren't crafting, like aren't the final tier.
Well, so here's the one that we were talking about in Axiom forever and ever. Metalworking and smithing. Not a smelting version, metalworking and smithing. And people said that, they went back and forth on it, and they're like, well, one of these is obviously going to be the smelting, right? To smelt your...
Hold on, how many do you have on the processing list?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Did I miss smithing?
I'm reading off the transcript from Ash's post.
Is that like a voice to text transcript, or did somebody actually go through and type out?
Somebody actually went through and typed it up. Maybe they mistyped this.
I'm gonna have to check that again, because that seems weird. While they have weapon smithing and armor smithing in the crafting, but then have smithing and processing.
Yeah. So but it did. So maybe this is wrong. Maybe Steven misspoke. I'm curious to see if you're going to have to melt in one of these the ore into metal, and then form the metal into some sort of usable bar for the final use of it. Maybe you're turning it into metal sheets, metal bars, metal ingots. I don't know what it's going to end up looking like.
I feel like it'll come down to a lot more than just ingots, and you're actually going to be making parts, like making a screw that's going to be used in siege tools, or making making the difference between a hilt and a blade and all of that.
I want to cut it off because I don't think it's correct. The wiki also only has 9. They don't have smithing on there.
Okay, so maybe this is incorrect. Maybe this is mistyped.
It's alchemy, animal husbandry, cooking, farming, lumber milling, metalworking, stonemasonry, tanning, and weaving.
Lex is always smarter than everyone else, guys. Lex has it. Never mind. Let's cut that off. Arcane engineering being an interesting one. Now that we have the full list, did you guys pick out what you're going to do with your lives?
No.
Nope.
I know what I'm not going to do.
What's that?
Animal husbandry, arcane engineering. I never really get too big into fishing. Alchemy, jewel cutting, and tailoring. And
sorry, I tuned out halfway through your list there, but I'm sorry. You said not into fishing, and I was like,
I'll fish, but it won't be my mastery. I'll do all of these, but it's not going to be my mastery.
I think animal husbandry has the biggest reach in terms of the long term. I think long term you'll make the most money off animal husbandry. That's I'm shooting my shot right now.
I would disagree for reasons, but go ahead, Bart.
Here's the question I want to ask. So we have the complexity of animal husbandry already.
Mm-hmm.
Do you anticipate that's going to be as complex in every single other one of these?
Maybe
yes,
it can be. I mean, keep in mind, animal husbandry is in processing, and you're making a mount. So really, if you think you start at gathering, you move up to processing, then you move up to crafting, it may be very complex, but you're not having to go through 3 stages. If I want to follow my steel or my mithril ore, I have to go from the mining stage to a smelting stage and then turning it into the final product. Because I have to go through multiple stages, that might not be as complex because I'm having to interact with that item 3 times to see it from raw material to finished product. This, it seems more like you have to do the hunting or taming style and then moving it into animal husbandry, doing that breeding, and there might be more of an investment and it might be more complex, but you're not going through 3 stages. You're only going through 2.
Well, then here's my other question is with how Steven has talked about this, for those of us who want to play every aspect of the game, is it going to come down to the point that if we're not dedicated crafters, we shouldn't even look at anything beyond the harvesting stage?
No, I think there's absolutely a necessity because of the way the mastery system is working. There's going to be a necessity for processors as well.
I think processors will make a lot of. I mean, when you move from even in tanning, right? You're gonna have all this raw material available for you, and someone's gonna need a finished product. So being the middleman there is really where a lot of the money is gonna come from, because you're not doing the exciting work of selling this huge finished product. You're not doing the progression work of going out and skinning a bunch of things and hunting for them. You're just doing the input output work in the middle. And while that is boring, I think that might actually be one of the better ways to make money, even though everyone always says just gathering is the best way.
I'm not talking about profit. I'm just talking about time investment, because if you have to spend all this time on your freehold managing these mini games to get your harvested materials into processed materials, and then you have to deal with selling those processed materials and running caravans and all this other stuff. For those of us who are out in the world doing things, exploring, raiding, fighting PvP battles, all that kind of stuff, with how in depth this game is, I'm just curious how much time that's going to take versus are you going to be willing to put that time in or not?
So so you're coming at it from the side of, if the content that you're wanting to do isn't necessarily crafting, we'll baseline it as everybody understands the importance of crafting and Ashes of Creation.
Yeah.
Knowing that you want to focus more of your time, not you specifically, but anybody wants to focus more of their time doing PvP, doing PvE, out there exploring the world, doing content in the world, not sitting on their freehold. To that question, I would answer the most dedicated crafters should probably look at processing or crafting, not gathering.
Yes.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Gathering is when I don't want to do crafting, I don't want to interact with crafting, but I want to be able to get the rarest stuff when I'm out adventuring, right? That's what a lot of gathering comes. That's why gathering's never really an issue. But then the issue being that I might get 1,000 ore and I only turn it into 60 ingots, but that's a lot of work, getting it from the raw material to a refined state. Well, then I hand over the 60 ingots, and yeah, it might take a lot of ingots to make that sword, but you're using it 20 at a time. You're not having to funnel all of these down, right? I think that crafters this might be the processor's time to shine. I think crafters might try to make very specific relationships with processors to be fed materials. Normally the gathering is lucrative or whatever, and the crafting is lucrative. I think this game might, if they do it right, this might be the processor's time to shine. The middleman, the guy that's putting in the work to both buy and then resell, I think this might be their shot at glory.
And this is going back to our server merge stuff, but I think it's also going to go from the gatherers to the processors. Like, I would look to set up my freehold in a location that is central to, like, say I'm a smelter. I would set it up near a point of interest that has a lot of, ore available. And I would, talk to the people that are regularly farming, or figure out a way that I can just pay people to go right to my freehold instead of running it all the way back to the node.
Yeah.
Go right to my freehold and drop it off for me. And then I lose that over a server merger or whatever it is. Like, so I see it going both ways, and not to get into the server merger stuff, but like, I also see it going, like, it's going to become down to a relationship who networks really well, who works together with other crafters. And that's why I'm saying, if you're not willing to put all the time and dedication into being a smelter and a crafter, you may just want to be a harvester.
Just gather. If you have no interest in crafting, just gather. And I would say that if you want to gather and you want to do it all yourself, go out there and mine or be a lumberjack and just store it all somewhere and just keep storing it. And then when you finally say, okay, I do want to take crafting seriously now move over to processing and max and start to work on that and you know, kind of reset your until your node gets sieged, and then
everything you stored.
Then you can't do anything, guys. So remember, show up for node siege nights, show up for node defense. This is Snorse approved.
I think the processing is going to be the consistent income. Crafting will be the lucrative income, and then gathering will be the pennies on the dollar.
Pennies, but it doesn't cost you anything. It's in your normal game cycle. You're not having to spend time in your game. So if you don't have a ton of time to game, gathering is probably your best bet, right? Or if you're just going to be out there in the world grinding, gathering is going to be your best bet. If you're interested in doing more things and you don't need to be like pushing constantly, you can be like, I'll spend some time on my freehold. I'm going to go spend some time over here. Then look at crafting or gathering for sure.
I think ultimately what's really great about this conversation is that it's very clear that we're going to need masters, like from a guild standpoint. We're going to need master gatherers, master processors, and master crafters. And that's good. That's exactly what they're shooting for. And I think that the mastery system that they're going for, where you basically have to pick a subcategory, gathering, processing, or crafting, and then 2, possibly 3 of those you can master in. That is the, like, it's going to make people required. It's going to make guilds require a lot of different people to do different things, as opposed to one person who does everything.
He's also said in the past, only one thing can you master. That could change.
We had a debate about this in Suspect, and the wiki states, off of Steven's words, and he said it. He's quoted 3 times that they can only pick one artisan class. The artisan class being gathering, mining, or crafting. And then the actual skill itself, 2, possibly 3, subject to testing.
Yeah, we'll see how most likely what that's going to look like is you can go into crafting and you might be able to max out. It depends how deep they go in the trees, but like, let's say weaponsmithing, for example, you might be able to go all the way down in the sword line and all the way down in the axe line and pretty far in the spear line. And that will probably be about it. It is kind of.
And if it's shared points, are you able to go, like, are you able to do weaponsmithing and armor smithing and make the best chest piece and the best sword, because that's the amount of points that you have. And so there might be even specialization within mastery, which is going to make everything even more narrow, like, and you're going to need more and more people on your friends list or in your guild or whatever to have access to all of the different things that can be potentially mastered.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I guess that was going to be my point with the with how broad the crafting system is. There's going to be a lot of guilds, unless you're a huge guild, that's going to be looking outside, and that's where the diplomacy stuff is going to be coming in.
Yeah.
To answer the question in chat, Master Bader.
Nice, Crumpy. Nice. Moving on. All right, how many active players, monthly subs, are necessary for the game to survive? 100 million. Like,
he didn't answer.
He didn't answer. There's
he can't answer. He can't answer that though.
No, you don't know what it's going to cost. When all is said and done, you have to figure that out. We don't know what retention is going to be. And it's, you know, if he could run this game for the next 10,000 years, 1 is probably enough, right?
Tim.
$15 a month for the next 10,000 years will probably get you to break even, and that'll be fine. How far along are the completion of class combat are you?
I don't think you did the math there correctly.
I don't think so either. I don't know how much. I don't know how much that was. I just took a stab.
I don't think he'd even break even there, right?
I have no idea. Somebody do the math for me. 10,000 times 12
times 12
times 15.
Times 15.
1.8 million. Yeah, we need a lot of you to stay around for 10,000 years, guys. We need a lot of you to stay around.
That's really inaccurate.
10,000
He only
eons
needs
is
to
what I
do
meant.
that.
10,000 eons
So
is
he only needs like 100 of those.
yeah.
For
It's
10,000 years.
well, you're not factoring in how much cosmetics are going to cost back down then. You know.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
And
Yeah, if it's
each one of
Spain, he's also
those-
spending $200 additional a month.
115 is my monthly sub.
Pain's just dancing by himself there on the server.
You know, but I'll be dancing in style.
He's
Yeah,
the
so
masturbator.
so it was good to hear that he's expecting 1 million concurrent users at launch. That's on par with something like Lost Ark, on par with what we anticipated New World was.
I will also say anything you divulge to the public is always often underestimated too. So
Yes.
I'm guessing he's looking at more like 2 or 3.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree with that as well. I mean, they have 4 million people registered now, this early in development. I think that you could easily, just scale it up. I think they're going to launch it with a lot, and if launch goes smoothly, they'll hold on to a lot. The issue being that they're not going to make money for 3, 6, or 9 months. There'll be large influxes of money coming in. That's probably when we'll also see a bunch of drop off from package buyers. They were asking, class combat. Are we going to see Summoner, Cleric, Mage, Rogue, Bard before Alpha 2? And he said some of the classes before Alpha 2 begins. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate it, brother.
I saw chat go crazy. They're like, Summoner hype. You're not fucking seeing it.
You're not seeing Summoner.
Summoner and Bard, or you are not seeing before.
You're not
Alpha
seeing.
2. I'm
Maybe
sorry.
you'll see Rogue. Maybe you'll see Rogue. Maybe.
I think we have to for the stealth mechanic update.
It sounds like the difference between camouflage and stealth, they have that worked out.
Well, they need
Yeah.
to show it though. Like
Yes.
again, there's words, and then there's us actually seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing all of them in Alpha 2. So I would not be surprised if we see something about all the classes. Even if it's just like, here's the class, here's what it looks like, here's 3 or 4 abilities.
Well, we're going to see all of them eventually in Alpha 2. We're talking about which ones. The question was, which ones are we going to see before Alpha 2?
Yeah.
I thought he said during the AMA that you would see. Well, I guess he didn't.
You'll see
clarify
some of
at
these
what
classes
point.
before Alpha 2. A lot of the combat feel, the movement and stuff, and so much more. These requires various iterations so we can continually improve upon the systems. Yeah, he's just sort of saying, wait, you'll see it. And honestly, leaving a bunch of classes behind are good marketing beats for downtimes while they're iterating on other stuff in the middle of Alpha 2, for sure.
Oh yeah, once Summoner does release on Alpha 2, a huge majority of testers are going to come back for that.
Yeah,
in
just leave
massive
out
ways.
Bard there, you know.
Nobody cares about Bard.
When Bard gets
just
released,
kidding.
You're
the
so
Alpha 2
wrong.
servers are actually going to disappear. They're going to fall off completely. Nobody's going to play the game anymore.
Sorry, Baba, we're actually talking about Ranger, yo. Anyway, moving to the next thing, because I know we're coming up on time. We can go a little. You guys are okay to go a little over?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. I just want to burn through some of this stuff. Intended leveling progression. That was just a rehash of a question that was already asked. Nothing fancy. If I'm a ranger and I'm 50 meters away, but I'm prone or crouched in a bush, will my nameplate be visible? Can I stalk my prey? So you cannot go prone or crouched at the moment. Crouched is still in discussion. I think
That was a weird one because we could already crouch in Alpha 1, and
Yep.
we've seen examples of gameplay of crouching underneath objects and stuff. So
yeah, that
that was a weird one to me. I was like, I feel like crouch is guaranteed.
yeah.
Maybe not.
But there are ways to obscure your nameplate. Line of sight, which is kind of obvious. But in the spirit, you can reduce visibility and presence of the player. There are certain skills or abilities such as camouflage, stealth, invisibility, and disguises that will allow you to use the utility. So it's based on skills, which I think is an interesting design choice. You can't just click and turn your nameplate off.
That is a smart choice.
I like that choice. Anyone
I
hate that choice?
also thought it was interesting that he said disguises. And that to me immediately said like, oh, maybe bards will have like a deception technique of disguise. Well, rogues too potentially, but like when you're looking at classic D&D, bards were the go-to for disguises and espionage and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, that would be a cool thing for a support class to appear as an enemy like an enemy, in the node it appears like a different guild or something like that. I didn't know if he was talking about that potentially being something that's PvP related, or if it was only like, oh, you can disguise yourself to look like a PvE enemy and wander through things.
Yeah.
It's like, I really hope there's the option for bards to infiltrate enemy
I want to be
cities
able to
and
turn
stuff.
into a tree
Yeah.
and just see this tree moving.
Dun, 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 dun. The main character looks back. Huh. He turns back. Dun 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 dun. No, I love that stuff. It'll be interesting to see kind of how we see all these. Once again, this is a lot. It's a lot. I mean, they named 4 things there, right? So we'll see if they can pull them off: camouflage, stealth, invisibility, and disguise. It's stealth and camouflage being different than invisibility. What archetypes like tank or bard, or will archetypes like tank or bard be viable as DPS or healers in small scale PvP, such as ranked arenas?
The way he answered it leads me to believe that he's basically saying yes, but they'll have their own utility and reason to bring them.
Yes.
But it won't be for damage.
Yeah, it's just
Which makes sense. Like I feel like that was kind of a.
I mean,
he didn't give enough detail for it to be justified as a good enough question. Like, had he gone a little bit more into detail of what they're like, are tanks going to be the CCers? Like, what is, are bards just going to be buffers, or they're going to provide some kind of additional utility? Like, had he gone into a little bit more detail, it might have been a better question. But the way that he answered it, I was kind of like, eh.
Well, I feel like he's already answered that in the fact that he said that this entire game is balanced around 8v8 gameplay, with one of each class being at the forefront in terms of, you want to bring one for all the utility they brought. And this goes back to what he was talking about, where the tank can do something and then everyone behind the tank within a cone gets a huge damage debuff. Like, that's hugely useful in an 8v8 battle, right? Like, all right, they're about to blow abilities, or they're blowing big abilities. Everyone get behind me, and you negate that.
Yeah.
It just goes into the rock, paper, scissor thing of, yeah, you probably want at least one tank in your PvP group to mitigate these damage abilities from other classes.
Let's see here. Here's the other big one for me. You guys ready? So I think we're gonna get into this one for a second.
Fane, you need to smile more when you're on camera, by the way.
No. I don't want to do it. I have a Snorse hat on. I really can't. It's hard. It's hard to smile with this.
That about this time in the questioning is when Steven was told to smile.
Oh, that's true. That's true. This thing, it makes my hair. I'm fucking sweaty. It ruined my hair. My man bun's not intact. This is awful.
Oh no!
Yeah, it totally ruined what was there. It wasn't already ruined.
No, it lives in perfect harmony. Boys, if a node gets destroyed in siege or atrophies, will it leave behind any evidence of its existence? This was new. This was new information. What did you guys feel about it? For those that didn't see the AMA, the answer was there's a period of time when the node exists in a ruined state. He said that ruined state is approximately 1 day for each level of the node. So a metro will last 6 days, a city 5, et cetera, et cetera. During the ruined state, the node's footprint becomes the ruins with treasure inside of it. The treasures are decided based on the various things that it contributed to the node during its existence, such as trade or upgrades, relics, things like that. A node which has turned into ruins is an open PvP ground. It takes time to dig up the treasures, and during that time, other players can kill you or take the treasures, or you can kill them.
Good.
Well, I like it.
I think just like the open seas being kind of a lawless PvP whatever zone, I think that this is going to entice people to do less of the assholery PvP on the normal day-to-day, because they will have these outlets to go out there and be the hardcore PvPer that they want to be, and be able to kill other players in a non-arena environment. I think that having a couple of places where that is authorized and that is good. The game community mindset hopefully will be that if you want to partake in kind of the ganking kind of style of PvP, or the little bit more of the griefing side of PvP, that there are areas you can go where people are opting into that. Obviously, it's not going to get rid of all of it, but I think it will help incentivize it being in specific locations as opposed to just the entire world.
Yeah. We're creating more instances for PvPers to PvP in a socially acceptable manner, right?
Yeah.
We had sieges, both node and castle. We had the caravan system. We had arenas. We had even counter PvP to the bounty hunter system, and now we're adding these ruins. So now we're getting further to the point where an open world PvPer is probably just a dick. He's still going to exist. They still exist out there. It's going to happen, but it's not for the lack. We can now kind of justify them almost as being that griefer, as being somebody who's just like going to get a bad name, because seems to be plenty of PvP if you really want it to get in with some PvP, right? There's always seems to be something to do now.
Yeah, so I want two things from this. First of all, I think it's a great idea, but first of all, you need to make it rewarding enough for people to actually want to go into these zones, right?
Mhm.
There needs to be something like the treasures need to be good enough.
Yep.
And then the second thing needs to be, you need to make mechanics that makes it contestable. So it's not just like the first person that gets there and spends enough time gets it, and it's like, oh, great, I dropped 10% or 15% of whatever my stuff was when I died. It's okay. Like, I was still the first person there, so I got the majority of it. It needs to be something that's like, okay, everything drops on death, or like it takes long enough to even uncover the treasure that you're fighting over it in the meantime, and then one person comes out on top after fighting for the treasure long enough. So those are the two things I want to see from it. I think it's a great idea. I just don't want it to become one of those things where it's like, because we've seen it in so many games where they implement systems and then it just becomes this, whatever. It's like a one-shot, one-off. Maybe it's fun to engage in. It's like, I don't know, for those who played WoW, it was like the treasure chest in, what is it, ZG? Like there's a Coliseum with a treasure chest in the middle, and it was like, it was fun to go do, but it didn't actually give you anything. So most of the time you're just standing there by yourself, no one to fight.
Wow, Andy, it went over my head. I cannot. Vladis, are you out there in chat? Can you explain what just was said? I don't understand. So no. I mean, but yeah, it's nice to see it, and I think it'll be interesting to see the dynamicism of it. Of this one's not worth going to because they hadn't advanced that much. They didn't have that many good relics. They didn't have whatever. And then this one, oh my god, that one's gonna be very heavily contested. As soon as we're done sieging, we need to get our whole PvP force here because we need to go into those ruins and get some stuff. Also, we need to raid all of their freeholds. So we need to do all of the above.
Well, yeah, I also feel like this zone or this time frame was separate from the time frame you could sack freeholds and all that. I could be wrong there, but I feel like
it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, because what was it, 2 hours or something like that? Like, they're gonna be able to like sack the freeholds and then like lay claim on old freehold land. Like, but it would also be interesting if it's at the same time, because then there's a risk versus reward type system there. Do you want the land or do you want to go raid the treasure? Like, and then as it's a decision that you're making as an individual. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to go claim land, or do you want to go in here and get all the treasure? If you have a freehold, then the decision is obvious. But yeah, so it'll be interesting what the direction they go with that timing specifically.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be I'm excited for that system. I'm gonna dig something up, something good. Not really. You guys see my RNG in video games. It's not great.
And honestly, that's where treasure hunters actually become viable. I think if treasure hunting is like a sub like thing within being a scribe, within scribing, allowing them to have maps created for like where the treasure is located, I think would help with their viability throughout all stages of the game, and not just, once everybody finds all the treasure chests kind of a thing.
Yeah, 100%. When a node develops into a city, if I'm logged in 24/7 staring at it, what is it doing? We got this information. I think it's been hinted at before. You're going to be teleported out somewhere safe. NPCs will kind of come throughout. Caravans will happen. It's going to feel very living, and I'm really excited to that. Guild Wars 2 did a very good job of this, where as things happen, you start to see the NPCs in the area moving in different ways.
And that's important. Seeing the world change, even if you didn't personally impact it, but seeing the impact of what other players have done is then an impact on your own gameplay. And so I think that that's important, and that doesn't just, instantaneously become a Metropolis or something like that. I think that that's going to be a good system that they visual system that they have in place there for people who weren't a part of the siege.
All right, how many active skills are on the hotbar? 15 to 20. He said what? You'll be able to do about 15 to 20 based off of 30 to 40 skills you can choose from?
I think the more interesting thing was the 30 to 40 skills to choose from.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, oh yeah, I mean, you can have 15 to 20 on your hotbar, but you're only going to really be using on a regular basis, like what? 5 to 10 max. I think the rest are utility skills that you'll have there just every once in a while in case, things like that.
Yeah, it depends how they go with that one for sure. I do like that you can maybe have more. Like maybe you can push for a few more skills if you are leveling it up. What the hell is so funny, Redbeard?
Oh, I'm sending it to you, and you need to pull it up on. Actually, you might not want to pull it up on stream.
Oh my god.
Thank you, Basin.
Basin, I don't know what you did, but I hate you so much. It's now chat's saying pull it
just
up
stop talking. Just
all
stop
right, I'm
talking.
done.
Look at the fucking the DMs
Real quick here. Yeah, I'm not gonna pull this up on stream, guys. Sorry. Basin is.
I hate you too, Basin, but I love you all at the same time. Oh
Gonna go ahead and time you out, Basin. Sorry about that, buddy. Sorry, Basin. You guys could untime Basin out, I guess. I don't know. I just had to get it in there. I had to get it in there.
Everyone DM Basin if you want to know what we're talking about.
Don't DM Basin, please.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Well, I guess you guys know where I'm gonna be after this. I'm gonna be in Suspect Discord after this show. Big time.
I can do this, and then I can do.
Yeah. So, but it'll be interesting to see if people decide to choose more skills that are a little bit less. We saw multiple levels to various skills, so more skills that are. I hate you all.
I don't.
Imagine
I feel like we should just end the show right there.
The two best content creators in Ashes of Creation category, bar none.
Fuck this show. I'm out. You know what, though? This confirms something that I've known for a long time, and I think it's really good that we all see it. I'm so much better looking than that pasty-ass Jalon. Fuck that guy. Anyway, so, cool. Skills. Pog. Did you guys see in the Discord, Steven showed a picture of the castle?
I saw something in the Discord.
Yeah. But did you guys see the castle picture that Steven put out?
I did not, no.
So he showed an island. I don't know, Baba. I know Baba in chat can do it. I can send it to you guys. But he showed the island, and it had a little castle icon, and then it had 3 little node icons around it, which I assume are the 3 military nodes that surround a castle. And that was the one where he referred to you can do. There will be some castle sieges, or one castle siege specifically, that will literally allow. I'm so tilted right now. I can't even talk. It's so brutal. You know what? It's good to know the fact that Basin is a Jalon simp, though. I mean, that makes so much sense. But a siege that is C content, right? That is strictly C content sieges. That's super exciting to me. It's going to show a little dynamicism. I hope that there's more of that when all is said and done. That being said, I will say that I wonder how much God, it's being spread around all the Discords. No.
Yes. Hold on.
I hate this so much.
Bart, can you share it in the Ashes?
No.
In the Ashes Discord, I can't post again.
I can't.
Guys, show is off the rails.
Post.
Everyone in chat, you can blame Basin. The show is off the rails.
AOC discussion. No, hold on. We need to see this unfold live. Like,
What?
Actually, I can post it in AOC discussion. Hold on.
Do not. Wait, what AOC discussion? The actual AOC discussion?
The actual AOC discussion.
Gross. Do not. I will tilt.
Is Jalon online right now?
Jalon's always online. That guy doesn't. I mean, what do you think he's gonna do? Go touch his wife? Like,
God damn.
what?
Throwing shade.
Bro, I caught him grooming another Twitch streamer in chat. I don't care. I'll throw shade.
All right,
Since we're all
it's in
throwing
AOC
shade,
discussion. It's in AOC discussion. I'll let you guys know. I hate you all.
Anyway, we'll just let that get buried in the AOC discussion. It's yeah, whatever. Something about something. Castle sieges are cool. Oh, office hours. We did want to talk about office hours before we leave. Literally before we go off tonight. Did either of you get a chance to go to the office hours today?
No.
No. Had I even known it was going on, I probably wouldn't have gone.
I want to throw this out to the community. They were talking about Ranger, and something that I had said was, really when we're talking about Ranger, we need to be talking about, somebody had talked about, oh, well, the Ranger should be the one pulling. And it's like, well, a mage can pull. Anyone ranged can pull. So literally do not tag him in that groomer. In that picture.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I would say this is a lot of people were just theory crafting individual little like, oh, this ability would be cool. This ability would be cool. If you're going to go to their office hours, please talk about the game as a whole. Do not theory craft individual abilities. There's 8 minutes. There's 5 people up there that want to talk. I will call him out. Yokai, great guy, I'm sure. But he would literally talk without knowing what he was actually going to say. So, so I think that for this, it's like, brother, you're not even prepared with what you want to say. We have 8 minutes to get a point across on a game that we actually care about. Please just move forward and make this normal. Like, just be a normal person. Have what you're ready to say. Shoot it out there. I don't like the stage feature. That's all I have to say about office hours. I'm so fucking distracted right now. I had something meaningful to say, but it's out the window now.
I'm in the same boat. I'm just watching the discussion to see.
But okay, guys. So thank you so much for showing up. We are out of time today. You can follow me at itsfane.com. Be sure to follow the Twitter, because if Jalon sees this, he and I are going to war, and I have fucking ammo. Let's go, boys. Your outros.
I'm Bardic. On the content beat, we'll hopefully have more videos soon. If Fane and Paradox go to war, that sounds great. I can't wait to see it, and I'll be there as well.
Captain Redbeard here on Twitch and YouTube. Yeah, go follow all this stuff. Make sure you check out the Two Guys in a Bard YouTube over on YouTube, clearly. I think all of our brains are just mush right now. Now they're talking about how exploiters shouldn't be banned. Great takes on the forums as always. But yeah, appreciate you guys stopping in. Basin, thank you for totally derailing that, and it was worth it 100%.
1,000,000%. That was the best meme I've seen from Ash's community in years. So
content. All right, guys, we will see you next time. Next week, we will play Did Redbeard Buy It? So get your guesses in, check out the new pack, and click that follow button. Thank you to all the new followers. Silver, Nibiru, Cryptic Beasts, Burgund. We appreciate you all, except you, Basin. I hate you so much, Basin. Basin.